right, we're having our guest to help us dissect this, rainy season flood discussion this morning, and Comfort is doing that already now. Comfort, are we good to go about that?
Yes, most definitely. We have our guest already there for us. He's been waiting for us to connect with him. If he has to, excuse his time out of his busy schedule. Of course, we have Agric and Environmental Expert to help us do justice to rainy season, flood season, effect, implications, and solutions. Dr. Abiodun Adeeko, thank you very much for accepting to talk to us on the program this morning, sir. Doctor, are you there? Hello, doctor. We can barely hear you, sir. Hello, sir. Are you there?
Hello.
Hello, doctor. Hello, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, sir. Thank you very much for accepting to talk to us on the program, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, so without much ado, we just want to ask you this morning, because we have quite a number of things to say, but let's begin with, how would you define rainy season, flood season? What do you think Nigerians, Ondo residents, should do during this period, and how do you define the season that we are in now? Define the season and tell us what we need to do.
Okay, incidentally, Ondo State is a forest zone, and there is abundance of rain in Ondo State, starting from April, sometimes earlier than that, March, April, up until October, and that's when there is enough rainfall to support agriculture. Nigeria is so blessed with this weather because some countries don't even have up to 3 months rainfall, but here we can actually boast of having almost 8 months rainfall, or even 9 sometimes, because and that's the time we have rain falling, we have the everywhere full of water, and if we're not careful, it can begin to affect us negatively. But this time around, we are looking at how this rainfall is going to be affecting agriculture. So rainfall is the time for our farmers to go to the field, to go to the farm, and to start producing food for the people of Ondo State, basically. So Ondo State is blessed to have rain this time around. It's the time we have water coming from a precipitated cloud and coming down, and then helping us to satisfy the water need of our soil and of our plants. Thank you very much.
All right, sir, have we done enough as a state, to mitigate the effects of rainy season for this year? Are we safe? And if we're not, what are the other proactive measures that we can put in place, or secondary measures that we can quickly put in place as residents of Ondo State? And where are the flashpoints?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. We believe that there is still room for a whole lot of things to be done. If you have been able to travel well, some countries actually store this rainfall. They store it as in a national storage water when rain falls. So it's a blessing for them to have rain just for within 3-4 months. They store the water and they use it for farming throughout the year in form of irrigation. But now we believe that on those stages, it's a natural thing for him to follow. So we sometimes take it for granted, and we're not doing enough.
All right, thank you very much. Considering that climate, experts have consistently warned about increasing rainfall intensity due to climate change, why does it appear that flood management remains largely reactive, rather than preventive in Nigeria? Why?
Well, I guess our guest is still trying to find his way back into the conversation this morning. because if you're just joining us, you can equally join the conversation by letting us know what you're thinking about flooding, whatever you're doing and you're putting in place to make sure that Ondo State is not flooded, because there is need for continuous prevention flood crisis. NEC even slashed prevention fund by 50% this year and approved 83 billion naira.
All right.
Did you get the question? I guess you have to repeat that.
Okay.
No, I didn't get the question.
You didn't get the question.
Repeat the
Okay.
question.
Let me quickly repeat the question. I said many climate experts have warned that have consistently warned about increasing rainfall intensity due to climate change. My question is, why does it appear that flood management, remains largely reactive rather than preventive in Nigeria? Why?
Yeah, I think the awareness of flood management is not enough, because all our daily activities will also lead to flooding of our environment. All of us are actually responsible to ensure that flood does not come. Our drainage channels in our house, in our environment, in our communities, even on the farm. How do we channel water to go to the right path? Okay, do you encourage throwing things inside the gutters, blocking of drainage channels and all that? So awareness should be high for every one of us, so that we know that flooding is something that is that could be imminent among us. So I think if there are more awareness as to our lifestyle, as to the way we handle debris and waste around us, we'll be better off as a state. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Adeeko. Let me quickly ask you this question. Because this is June, of course we are in June, and it seems like there's a war, especially with flooding. I'd like to ask you, how bad is the flood situation in Ondo State compared to June 2025? And of course, which local government area is worst hit already? And what are the things that we need to do, or what has government done, to ensure that they mitigate the effects of this flooding in our communities?
Okay, thank you so much. Ondo State is actually one of those states that is prone to flooding, and the area that has the most proximity to flooding is the south area, where we have that's the Niger Delta area, the Delta area of the state, and that's where flooding actually is always enormous. And that's because the state needs to. The flooding last year wasn't as much as this year, because rain wasn't too much last year. But now rain is practically falling every day. And basically, as a professional, we believe that the local government should be able to manage all of these challenges of water getting off their banks and destroying farms and destroying houses and all that. So the southern part is always one of those areas that is having all of the flash floods and all of that. Even in the middle of Akure as well, as let's say Akure Metropolis, but Akure Metropolis has gotten a bit of the drainage, managed and all that, but it has not caused. It's not that flooding is not happening in Akure Metropolis, but it hasn't caused serious damage to properties and to the life of people. Thank you.
All right. Despite billions of naira budgeted annually for drainage construction, erosion control, and ecological projects, flooding remains a recurring problem. Are we getting value for money from this investment? Are we?
Yeah, I think for us, we're not getting value for the money presently, but we can actually try and begin to put all of this in the hand of private investors. I believe private investors, public-private partnership with the government, and the government working with the private investor, can actually be more effective. So if you can actually involve private investors, private experts who are going to help in providing developing programs that's going to actually help in all of this area of flooding and flood management and all that. Oyo State has gotten their own clearly because there was a World Bank project, that was able to help in, help we call it Ibadan Urban flooding management project, and now there is no flooding, so to say, in Oyo State or Ibadan Central, so to say. That actually, be in partnership with private investors, they can manage flooding effectively. Thank you.
Okay, so let's look at, I asked earlier, where were the flash points, but I got my hands on a few things. That is, Ondo State flood risk, and of course on the urban flash, flood risk as against the coastal and riverine, area. The urban centers, of course, we have Akure, Ondo Town, Akuba, and the issues they're battling most of them is blocked concrete drains, impervious paved surfaces, and of course the coastal area basically have Ilaje, Ayetoro, and the sea incursion as well as wave and other stuff. Let's look at the urban hotspots, Akure, Ondo, and Ondo Town and Akuba. You spoke earlier about the activities of residents, and you said earlier that this contributes a lot of to flooding. What are we doing to make sure that people are well positioned in town? You as an expert, have you overseen any oversight, to check people and know where to put them? And of course, I believe that those in charge of urban renewal as well as town planning, should be working. Is there synergy somewhere between you guys to make sure that people are well positioned, just so Akure, the urban center, and also the rural areas can avoid experiencing flooding?
Yes, just like I said, more advocacy. We as experts and academicians, most of the time we do more of the let me call it theoretical aspects. But now we're getting into practical and into the field of operations to engage with communities. Basically, we have local governments. For us to have grassroots, we have grassroots people. We have community development associations, and then we also have landlord associations. Those are the channels I think we can have leverages on, whereby we can actually begin to lecture one another within the communities to tell us that most of this flooding is actually caused by our activities, our behavior. Sometimes some people will move into new environments and they will start digging channels in front of their house. And water is always looking for where to pass through, and water will now begin to go that way, and it can begin to damage everyone that is down the cliff in that environment. So we should always consider our neighbors. We should consider the environment, because the environment is crucial to all of us, because it could damage a lot of things for everyone in that environment. You can imagine a slopey environment where the only water missed the road from the channels. It will spoil the road for the car users or car users and everyone. So we hope to have some synergy with the state government, the local government, as an academic meeting the need of meeting the community now. That's what I mean. If by the time we have that, we can begin to cascade it into local knowledge, among our residencies and all of that, and then we can begin to, there should be more advocacy, more awareness, and that will keep flooding to the barest minimum for us in our communities. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Let's quickly ask you this question again. Of course, quite a number of things that we need to ask you, but then let's ask you for this one. Why does Alagbaka flood when it's a government area? Is the master plan dead, or we are building against nature? What exactly is wrong? We have another area to around, is it Showboy now that they call it? It's usually flooded during this period. Why do we still have all of these things? Even at around the government house, yes, when you're coming around ShopRite too, sometimes that place is really flooded too, where we have traffic lights. What do we do about all of those things?
I think sometimes is the town planning issue. sometimes, when they are when we are doing town planning, we're not always professional about what we do in Nigeria, basically. Because if we are professional about it, we'll have known that this side is there's slope here, this side there's water here, and even constructing road, most of the time we don't consider the soil texture, we don't consider the type of soil that is there. And in those states does not have the type of soil that allows water to sink in. Most of the water in those states are maybe clay soil, and soil that will not allow water to sink in. So the moment water is not sinking in and it's not infiltrating, that's the language, then the water will now keep flowing. But the moment we have good water sinking in, and then even if it's not sinking in, we should create facilities, we should create channels for the water to escape and be able to move to the larger larger drainage that will lead to the main drainage, bigger drainage channels that will take it into the water bodies. But if you are not doing that one, then there's something wrong with the foundation. Basically, if the moment the foundation is not right and experts are not brought on board, by the time layouts are being made, by the time we are not able to identify the soil, then we are not professional at all of those things, then some of those things can begin to happen. And then climate change is actually happening to all of us because we don't actually know when rain is going to fall as much as NIMET is trying their best. They will only project, but sometimes the climate change is actually beating NIMET. So some of those flashpoints may not actually be there sometimes, but by the time activities of human beings, our activities started bringing in other buildings along the way that has not been originally meant to be where to be building. Do you know what I mean? The landscape has been well executed, the town planning has been well done. I'm not saying the town planners are not doing their work, they have done their work well, but somebody will just come and bring one small building in front of his house, saying that he wants to start and he wants to make a shop out of it. Or a container will just come and will just put it somewhere there. And before you know it, will block the normal routes of the water, and the water will find its way maybe to the main road, and then flooding will happen. Where we have floods before. Because about 10 years ago, we have floods in all of these flashpoints that we are mentioning. So I think we should, it's not that they did not do their work well, but our activities actually is impairing and is blocking some of these things. So we should, the government and all of us, to ensure that anybody trying to build illegal structure, we shouldn't allow that, so that it will not begin to come the way of water, and the water will now begin to look for another way, and that causes flooding for us.
Thank you. Sir, I want you to be very precise. So, is Ondo State flooding 100 because you mentioned climate change? Is it 100% climate change or 70% our fault? I want you to break the blame game between government builders and citizens. I want you to hit the nail on the head. Very specific.
Okay. Basically, I can't really measure it right now, but for the government, governments will put down their own policies, but most of the problem is based on human activities.
Okay.
Let me say 80% of our problem is based on our activities. To be sincere.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yes, you made mention of NIMET. These are the agencies we looking out for so that they'll give us this kind of analysis. But how effective this agency, NIMET and NHS, in flood prediction and disaster management? How effective they are? Or are they?
Well, I can say they are about 80% or 85% effective. Most of the times it's like they are trying to it's a forecast, it's a prediction, and when there are predictions, there are also there could be errors, there could be differences, and it may not be that much, but by and large it's an average of what will happen. When we mean average, so it's over around that could be minus 10%, plus 10%. Okay, but these days, our activities, just like I said, are encouraging climate change. A lot of us are having a lot of things that, but climate is actually doing their work, and there could be changes, plus 10, minus 10, based on what they predict. Okay, but it is just an average. It's not, nobody is perfect, but they will have given us an idea of when rain is going to start, when rain is going to stop, or the situation of rainfall, and then the weather and all that. Even Google can also give us some predictions. You can check your phone in the morning to tell you UV is going to be high, precipitation is going to be low, and all that. They actually they use software to actually forecast and to predict. So, and it might not be 100% right.
All right, Mr. Adeeko, let's look at this particular story. It came out this morning that flood crisis, and the headline read in the Punch newspaper that NEC slashes prevention fund by 50% and approves 83 billion naira. The National Economic Council on Thursday of this week approved 83.21 billion naira for the implementation of an anticipatory action task force to mitigate the impact of flooding and other climate-related disaster in Nigeria. And of course, Cross River State Governor Obafemi, who briefed a State House correspondent and the press generally, among other governors, said the council approved 83.21 billion naira after receiving an initial request of 166. So out of 166 billion, they've approved 83, which is going into the half of that. Are we safe when our executives are slashing the monies meant for the prevention of flooding across Nigeria? And the second thing I'd like to add to that is this: we have a culture around here and there where people leave debris, they leave it around in their area. We see people, they dump stuff in shops. What is expected to be done by agencies in charge, and who is concerned with this, and why has there not been arrest and penalties?
Okay, when it comes to the issue of funding and mismanagement and all of that, I wouldn't want to say so much because I've not actually been in the loop. But what I would advise is that there should be monitoring of funding, proper monitoring of funding. Due process must be actually done in order to ensure that funds are used for the right work. I've worked mainly basically with private organizations, international organizations, who are funding up to a lot of millions of dollars, and then there are due process on how to monitor how the money is being spent and managed. So I think I would just advise that there should be a task force on monitoring. There should be a way to measure how the money is bringing value to the country. Do you understand? Because the country is a very big country, and then we have northwest, northeast, southwest, south, and all of that. So I think it should be well demarcated that okay, this amount is going for southwest, this amount is going for southeast, and then there should be proper accountability. You know what that means? There is accountability, and then there is monitoring of okay, what did you use this one for? Then I think we can begin to have better value for money in the years to come, especially for all of these climate issues.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. From my end, I'd just love to ask you this last question. If you could enforce one environmental law in Ondo State, starting today, like right now, to stop floods, what would it be? And who should go to jail first if they err?
Yeah, people that throws water bottles on the floor, people that throws debris from the windows of your car, all of us are, guilty of this. There should be penalties for, especially even for people that throws dirty things inside channels. There should be risk management, proper risk management. The moment you are caught throwing something on the floor, you should be fined.
All right.
with a greater amount of money, and you not do it again.
Okay.
So indiscriminate throwing of debris, indiscriminate throwing of trashes and all that from the car, as you are walking along and all that. I think that can be a starting point for us.
So are you not saying that residents who repeatedly build on floodplains and waterways receive compensation when floods destroy their property? Should residents who repeatedly build on floodplains and waterways receive compensation when floods destroy their properties, or should government stop compensating such victims?
Yeah, one thing is that before they build that property on the waterways, did they take approval for building that house? That's one of the problems. Anybody, if you want to build a house, you should know that this is waterway, and by the time you are building the house, who approved it? How was it approved? So one of those things is that we should make sure that people don't build house on waterways or beside. There should be a demarcation 100 meters from the water. You should not build anything, or 5 or 200 meters from the water. So some of those things. So by the time there is flooding, we will not compensate you because you did not even take approval in the first place. But the moment you have approval and probably the water came all the way to your house where you have gotten clearance to build yours, then you can be compensated for damages. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much for your time on the program this morning. Agric and Environmental Expert, Dr. Abiodun Adeeko. Thank you very much for accepting to talk to us. We appreciate your in-depth analysis on the focus for today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Do well to enjoy the rest of it. You're welcome, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Adeeko. And now we move it on to another segment, which is the sports segment. And I believe, Mike, you do justice to that, Mike.
All right, quickly, welcome to the sports segment on the Glow Focus today. If you have reactions to any of the sides of the program this morning, you can always drop us a comment on Facebook. We're streaming live, and of course, you can also call the studio lines to play your thoughts this morning. I think we have a caller already.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, good morning.
Hello. Yeah. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. What's your name and where you're calling from?
Adeeko is my name.
Okay, please go ahead.
I'm calling from Omolafe.
Okay.
I think some of these things that some of these problems that I quite agree with the resource person. That some of these problems are man-made problems. But the issue is the financial aspect of it. All the money being released by international body, the federal government, the World Bank, and other agencies, are they really being utilized correctly in the state in correction of this flooding area? And if you look at the topography of Akure, for example, like this Iyoma Plaza, now Showboy area,
The slopey.
down to Fuashai, then you take it to Alagbaka, around the Shaddai Church, all these areas, we have fantastic buildings that are there. Are they supposed to be there? If you look at that place is prone to flooding area. And when it's flood, what is building? They are being approved by the state government, by the Department of Urban and Regional Plan. So some of these problems are caused by the government, the big wings in society. So they know that this place is not supposed to be suitable for this kind of project because of the being chance, because of the hierarchy they have, because of the power they have. They are all these places that are some of the areas that are causing problems. In addendum with the one that indiscriminate dumping of the refuse into our lagoon and water bodies. So these are the areas we have to look into. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling the radio station. Studio lines are very much open. You can contribute in the course of the program 0805 551 1110 or the second line 0706 677 1822. Hello, good morning. Please go ahead shortly.
I want to discuss is very, very important thing in this very country where we need very important. This security in this country. Okay, look at the way people why. People too. But they know saying is that it's 2 years. We don't think about that one. We don't ban that one more than 1 month was now. We don't ban drag now. What we are talking about, I know that this same matter. That is not important thing. Look at general. When they magic and just kill the general. Who they not carry on? That's been said. We don't know what they say. We said, I don't cause us. If we say, if we do a wrong law, I don't rob before we know ourselves. Honestly speaking, how long are we going to mature? The way people talking like this. Please let us come and wake it, please. Let us wake up.
Thank you very much for calling the radio station. Of course, we now move, in case we do not have another call. Do we have one more? Okay, we now move to sports to give you the latest from the world of sport, cut across other sports and football. And of course, I'd like to start with this particular story from the Nation newspaper. It says Lagos aglow for Commonwealth Games trials, and of course Amusan, Ajayi, Ogazi and Nekwechi headline contenders. Let's let you know that Nigeria's biggest names in the track and field event arrived at Yaba College of Technology Sport Complex this weekend for the Commonwealth Games trials, the mandatory qualifying event for the Team Nigeria ahead of the games in Glasgow, Scotland, starting from the 23rd July 2026 to the 2nd of August this year. All right, the 3-day meet running between June 20th to June 22nd, just 2 days, will decide the places across 32 events, with 14 marquee finals expected to draw the fiercest competition. For the first time in years, the trials pits Nigeria's home base stars directly against a wave of athletes built in the United States collegiate system, setting up what organizers expect to be one of the most competitive national teams championship in recent memories. And of course, the National Sport Commission, NSC, in a separate statement, described the trials as a test of a selection process that wants to be transparent and competitive, calling the event central to Nigeria's preparation for Glasgow. The men's and the women's 100 meters, 200 meters and 400 meters are likely to dominate the attention through this weekend. These are the first set of other stories that we've seen so far in this particular regard. Let's look at some other stories this morning. Adeeko Imoke hailed Ikpeme's sports development book. Let's see what we have in this particular story. And of course, the writer comes as stakeholders demand deeper reforms. Senator John Owen Eno, National Sport Commission Chairman, Shehu Diko, and the former Cross River State Governor Layi Imoke led tribute on Thursday at the launch of Dr. Emmanuel Idem Ikpeme's new book, Perspective on Sport Development in Nigeria, Challenges and Ways Forward, describing it as a timely blueprint for the country's sport administration. And of course, these are part of efforts expected in Nigeria to advance the cause for sport in the country, because we can't just be talking about sport. We have to look at the administrative level of sport and also look at the practical level of sport. Let's go to the World Cup now, and of course we have a story that concerns South Africa. South Africa keeps a knockout dream alive with Czech Republic draw, and of course Toboho Mokwena's penalty kept South Africa, the Zulu boys, a dream of reaching the World Cup knockout stages for the first time alive after a 1-1 draw with Czech Republic in Atlanta on Thursday. Michael Selidak's early opener had the Czech Republic on course for just the second World Cup with an independent nation. But of course, Mokwena's late sport kick kept both teams in the hunt for the last 32, although they almost certainly have to win their final Group A fixtures to advance in that particular regard. Will they win? we'll have to wait and see if that happens very soon. Let's look at other sporting stories this morning as it concerns the World Cup, because Nigeria is not at the World Cup, but we've got other African countries at the World Cup. We also got Ghana speaking this morning. Of course, Germany faced the first real test against Cote d'Ivoire as Express train Diomande. One name on every German player's mind is Ivory Coast winger Yan Diomande, whose meteoric rise from Bundesliga has seen him emerge as the biggest threat to the four-time champions of the world. And of course, anything could happen. Let's look at some other World Cup stories in general, where we'll also look at club stories. The opening week of the FIFA 2026 World Cup has delivered exactly what 48 teams expanded tournament promised. Shocks, history, and superstar threat as the football or bigger stage made good on its bidding across United States, Mexico, and Canada. Lionel Messi produced an individual best and highest of the week so far, scoring on his first ever World Cup hat-trick as Argentine captain, and of course he opened the defense of their title with 3-0 win over Algeria in Kansas City. The 38-year-old has a treble, a long-range strike and a close range, and a finish as well as a third effort drew him level with Miroslav Klose of Germany, all-time World Cup scoring a record of 16 goals on the night, and he became the first man to feature at 6 World Cups. He was given a standing ovation on his way off the pitch for that particular heroic there. And of course many more to come from Lionel Messi. That is what his team is saying. Alright, and the upset of the tournament so far belongs to Cape Verde, who held European champions and title favourite Spain to a goalless draw in Atlanta. Few gave the Blues Shark any hope of taking a point off Spain, with the side ranking below, and of course one of the smallest other World Cup by nations or population. Spain had gone into the match as overwhelming a favourite, and the result already being discussed as one of the biggest shocks in the tournament so far. Okay, while Lionel Messi, Mbappe, Erling Haaland set the goal scoring pace, Cristiano Ronaldo endured a frustrating night in Houston as Portugal were had a 1-1 draw by DR Congo. The 41-year-old managed those 25 touches in the game. He's fewer in all full match at a major tournament for Portugal, and has now gone 10 consecutive games at the major tournament without scoring a goal, leaving coach Roberto Martinez with an early selection dilemma over a player closing on 1,000 goals for his career, his country, and of course that is to be seen. It has been a week where African sides refuse to play the role of supporting cast. Morocco, semi-finalists in Qatar 2022, held Brazil to a 1-1 draw in a result that underlined the Atlas Lions' continued progress on the global stage. DR Congo's Yohan Wissa scored his country's first ever goal at the World Cup in a 1-1 draw with 5th-ranked Portugal, and a result that sent a message that the so-called underdogs are ready to challenge the game's elite. Ivory Coast also impressed, beating Ecuador 1-0 in their own encounter. Ghana produced the most dramatic African result of the week, snatching 1-0 win over Panama in Toronto through 95th minute. Caleb Yerenki tap in after Brandon Thomas Asante's stoppage time burst down, and of course the Black Stars missing the injury hit Mohamed Kudus and Mohamed Salisu, plus a visa denied. Thomas Partey had to deep after a goalless half in the first, and of course they are to be seen as one of the strongest side coming from Africa. Quick one, let's let you know that England served notice of their own title credentials with a thrilling 4-2 win over Croatia in Dallas, twice fighting back from behind, pegged level before the goal from Jude Bellingham, and substitute Marcus Rashford settled a chaotic Group L opener. Hurricanes brace and a retaking penalty and a corner routine header moved him level with Gary Lineker's all-time England record of 10 World Cup goals, while also making him just the second English player after David Beckham to score at 3 different World Cups. And of course, Thomas Tuchel is looking for the best. The co-host nation have given home fans plenty to celebrate United States opener with a comprehensive 4-1 win over Paraguay, while Mexico eased past South Africa 2-0 in the tournament opener in Mexico City. Canada, meanwhile, were held 1-1 by Bosnia-Herzegovina in Toronto. Austria provided one of the week's biggest surprises, beating Turkey 2-0, later reported in the same recap 2-1 to announce themselves as the dark horse in the Group D. And of course, a lot has been seen in this particular World Cup. Let's let you know that with group stages fixtures continuing through the weekend, the early signs points to a tournament shaped by competitiveness rather than predictability. For African football followers, the performances of Morocco, DR Congo, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire offer early encouragement that the contingents from the continent representatives are ready to go deep into this particular tournament. These are the early ones seen. Guys, we have seen what has happened at the World Cup, and of course African teams living up to expectations, while big teams in Europe are waiting. Some of them are waiting to get just 1 goal, 2 goals, or even some have recorded goalless draws. Ghana managed their own way, and of course we do not know what you think without Nigeria at the World Cup. Do you think that any of the African side will go out of the group stage or will get to the round of 32 and also the round of 16?
Believing in Ghana, yes.
Yeah.
In Ghana,
Okay.
I think Ghana and Cameroon. People are, are expecting much from
Ghana
them.
and Cape Verde, I guess.
Yes,
Yeah.
I expected much from them, including me, because Ghana, they are very much strong and very resilient. You know what I'm talking about. So the way they play their tactical, the way they approach each games is quite different from the previous, years.
Yes.
And of course, the result puts Ghana joint top 2 the group alongside England, who they face next in the group stages on Tuesday, coming Tuesday. And Ghana have now won 6 of their 16 World Cup matches. Matching Nigeria's tally of 6 victories from 21 games.
Yes.
Both countries are followed by Cameroon, and who have 5 wins from 26 matches. I just wish them the very best. Since Nigeria is not there, I just hope that African they can make us proud. Alright, let's hope they can.
Alright, maybe they will make us proud. Before we look at the fixtures of the games played today and those to be played at midnight and tomorrow Saturday, let's let you know that Arsenal versus Coventry, Liverpool played Newcastle in the 2026-27 Premier League opening week, and of course Arsenal will kick off their new Premier League season title defense against a promoted side from League One from English Championship, Coventry, on the 21st of August this year. The Premier League fixtures for the new campaign 2026-27 were released today, with the Gunners home games against Frank Lampard's Coventry among the highlights of the matches to be played. And of course there are other games out. New Chelsea manager Xabi Alonso begins his reign with a West London derby against Fulham on August 24th, and Manchester City start live after Pep Guardiola at home against Bournemouth. And of course you have to check for these fixtures as they have been put there. Earlier today, Mexico were 1 goal better than South Korea. United States in the Group D against Australia today by 8 p.m. and by 11 p.m. Morocco are playing against Scotland. These are the games to be played early tomorrow into Saturday by 1:30 a.m. Brazil, Haiti, Turkey, Paraguay by 4 a.m. in the morning. This is how much we can take on this particular site.
However, that's how much we can take on today's edition of Globe Focus. We hope you had a swell time, because I did too. Of course, I'm beginning to love sports. Yes. So that's how much of it. Thank you very much for being part of our Word of Sun. I'd like to say a very big thank you to our guest, Dr. Adeeko, for doing justice, an Agric and Environmental Expert, and of course to the analysts who joined us during the paper review at DBC and Duluju. Thank you to both of you, and to those who called in, thank you very much. Those who could not call in, not to worry. Next week is another day, on Monday. We meet then. Would like to say, until then, a very big thank you to our executive producer, Dr. Ezekiel Akonde, and of course, on behalf of the entire production crew, my name is Comfort Omolafe.
My name is Mike Alim Obafemi. Join me later today by 4 p.m. for E-Factory. Bye for now.
My name is Kingsley. Iniovosa. Enjoy the rest of your day.